This podcast series consists of 54 short speeches on Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar, unraveling as many as 25 different dimensions of his multifaceted genius. In this episode 13, I would like to present Dr. Ambedkar's role vis-a-vis the infamous Simon Commission. The Government of India Act of 1919 had stipulated that a commission would be appointed every 10 years to review the progress of constitutional reforms in India and to suggest further steps. In 1927, the British government appointed a 7-member commission called the Indian Statutory Commission. The members of this commission included Sir John Simon, who was the chairman, Clement Attlee, who later became the Prime Minister of Britain, and 5 other British members of Parliament. The widespread outrage of people resulted in hartals, mass rallies, processions, and black flag demonstrations in all major cities in our country. The commission was met with the slogan, "Simon, go back! Simon, go back!" In Lahore, in clashes with police, senior Congress leader Lala Lajpat Rai died. Those in charge of affairs, from Viceroy downwards, they have cultivated this habit of recognizing the noisy few and forgetting the dumb millions. Unquote. Dr. Ambedkar decided to take that opportunity and give voice to the dumb millions. Ambedkar's statement to the Simon Commission focused on two major issues. First, protection of the depressed classes through adequate representation, and two, protection of depressed classes through guarantees. Secondly, on the basis of the numerical strength of the depressed classes alone, they were entitled to a much larger representation. Three, given the fact that depressed classes are burdened with grave disabilities and others did not, Dr. Ambedkar argued that the depressed classes should have a greater electoral advantage than the rest. He explained that two reasons are cited for this. Is unjustifiable on every ground. It has turned a responsible government into a mockery. According to him, such state of things is clearly vicious and cannot be allowed to continue in future if there is to be a responsible government, not merely in the name but also in fact. Unquote. He finally came out and said, and I quote, "Indeed, adult franchise is the only system of franchise which can be in keeping with the true meaning of that term." Dr. Ambedkar demolished this argument by saying, and I quote, large property is not incompatible with ignorance, nor is the abject poverty incompatible with high degree of intelligence, unquote. The second focal point of Dr. Ambedkar's statement was protection of depressed classes through guarantees. In this regard, Dr. Ambedkar demanded the inclusion of specific clauses in the Constitution as its fundamental part relating to the guarantees of the civil rights for the depressed classes as a minority. The guarantees demanded by Dr. Ambedkar included earmarking an equitable and just proportion of total grants for education for the benefit of the depressed classes. Fourth, the right of the depressed classes to effective representation on the local bodies. And finally, the right of the depressed classes to appeal to the government of India in cases of violation of these rights by the provincial governments. While defending these guarantees, Dr. Ambedkar said, and I quote him, Dr. Ambedkar argued that any attempt on the part of depressed classes to exercise their elementary rights of citizenship only end in provoking the majority to practice the worst possible form of social tyranny known to the history. The Simon Commission submitted its report in May 1930 in the absence of participation from the Indian National Congress. However, the report remained ineffectual and defunct. Finally, in order to break the impasse, the British government had to resort to another set of consultations. Well, friends, let's conclude today's session here. Thank you. Dhanyavad. Namaskar.